Hi, my name is Amy. Thank you very much for watching, and let's make some bad financial decisions together. This is for entertainment purposes only, so if you're entertained, please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. So I was watching the Retire on Dividends and Jay interview tonight from YieldMax, and there's a few things I would like to talk about. So at the very beginning of the interview, Rod asked Jay, are there any new funds coming out that we are excited and should know about? And Jay responded with, well, we finally got the chance to register for some more inverse funds. And I was kind of expecting Rod to say, oh, I'm sorry, let's clarify. I asked for funds that we are excited about because we all know Rod's opinions on these inverse funds and, whether they should exist or not. But I was amused about SALTY, which is the inverse of ULTY. And no, I don't have any of the information, but I will be curious to see if it's somewhat stable and also has good distributions, or if it's just as awful as ULTY as far as, the NAV stability, or, what's its deal? And is it actually an inverse, or do they just do protective puts on things? So these are things I don't know, but I'm actually kind of excited about SALTY. So they actually later in the interview brought up LFGY, and if they put this in Group B, I'm going to be referring to this as motto and LFGY, and you're all just going to have to deal with it because I'm amused. But this is kind of like the SEPI, where it's going to be 15 to 30 crypto companies, and it's probably going to be monthly because they hate weeklies, even though we all are begging for weeklies. And it's going to be, a diversified holding. And, I'm pretty into these kind of things because crypto is very volatile. You never know which particular company is going to pop off. And I do appreciate that it's things that are not exactly just 100% Bitcoin. So I do think that this is going to be something that when it comes out and we know what group it's in and everything, I will do a proper video on it. Another thing that I thought was interesting is that Jay views YieldMax more like a brand than a fund. And I didn't realize that the Dorsey Wright funds, the new ones, FEET and 5e, they're not actually managed by Jay. So we need to figure out who to complain to when things go weird for it, or who we need to make suggestions to for new ones. Because I did appreciate Rod's had two suggestions. The first one being, why don't we have a Dorsey Wright that just has the top whatever for momentum stocks that are in the S&P 500, and then just the 5 top paying dividend stocks, or the 5 highest momentum from YieldMax. So I think that would be an interesting fund too, because it doesn't have to be the S&P 500, it could be the NASDAQ 100, could be Russell 2000, whatever they want to do. If it's not constrained to the funds that YieldMax is actually doing, but a lot of the funds that YieldMax is doing are momentum plays. So I feel like YieldMax does capture a lot of the stocks that have the most momentum in the market. But yeah, it's interesting because the Dorsey Wright funds follow the index that they made. So did you all realize that 5e actually has less of an expense ratio than all the other YieldMax funds? And I find that part interesting. But the other thing that they talked about that I've always wondered about, but I've never talked to Jay, but why they don't do covered calls on their own funds. Because to me, like, YieldMax would be more exciting if they also did cover calls on top of the funds. That way, like, we could get the premiums from the funds and then the premium from the covered call. And that way, it's not just the same as me just, doing it myself. But because they have influence over the outcome of the performance of their funds, they are not also able to make an ETF that writes cover calls on top of their funds, which just means that, like, Roundhill could make a weekly player that gets the distribution from the funds, but then also does the cover call on top of that, and then in that way you're making more money than if you just held YieldMax. So, or Roundhill or Rex or whatever other fund wants to do it that's not YieldMax. And, that's how we're all going to win together. But I'm glad that's finally been answered. And then now that we're talking about LFG, I was going through my email and I noticed that AIPI and FEPI had their distribution announcements today. And FEPI is still doing a 25% distribution, and AIPI is doing a 34.8% distribution, which is not too bad. So I'm going to update YieldMite probably tomorrow, and we'll get that out there. And then Christmas is going to be stealing the joy of us getting our weekly announcements, but it'll just be delayed by one day. So we're all going to survive, right? Anyways, I hope that, are you interested in Salty? I don't think that I'm going to be investing in it right away. I do have my goals for the beginning of the year, and once my credit cards are paid off, I think I'm just going to be in all of the high income ETFs and just have, a variety of everything. But yeah, and LFG, I'm going to have to see where they put it and how it fits in my investing strategy, but it looks really exciting and I'm pretty excited about that. So, will you also be investing in LFG, or are you going to try to do SEPI or just wait it out and sometime next year get into it? I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.